My code editor began suggesting messages from someone I didn't know. It wasn't code. In VS Code, the grey ghost text that usually guesses a function name slid across my screen and wrote, in a comment, "Can you roll it back? Checkout is stuck." Then it put a dash, a lowercase m. I hit escape. The line vanished. I told myself it was Copilot being weird with the comment I'd written earlier, dredging up text from somewhere. It was 1:12 a.m. on a Friday. Windows notifications were off, Slack was minimized, Chrome and the AWS console were open on my second monitor. The comment came back in a different file. It used the same words, the same tone. "They stuck in checkout. Roll it back." The cursor didn't move. It was just the grey suggestion flickering under my own comment about switching feature flags. I turned Copilot off. I turned IntelliSense down to none. I shut off every extension except Prettier. The grey text still appeared, like it was just confident about what I was going to type next. I ignored it and pushed the change anyway. The load balancer drained, a new container spun up, and for 30 seconds everything looked fine in CloudWatch. Then Slack pinged in the corner. A message in our incidents channel, "Checkout stuck, can we roll back?" It was the same phrasing, same punctuation, same small panicked rhythm. The timing made my stomach drop. I switched back to VS Code, opened the router file, and typed "what goes wrong next" as a bad joke inside a comment. The editor filled the space with "DB failover loops, kill the health check. It's okay." And I laughed, a breath that felt more like choking because it was absurd and because the word "okay" always looks wrong in lowercase when you don't believe it. I pulled up RDS and AWS. The failover had started without being asked. Latency was climbing. Health checks were retracting and firing again in a sawtooth pattern. I killed the health check. It stabilized in under a minute. I didn't report that the fix came from a ghost comment. I typed "temporary health check disable, investigating" in the incident channel and got a single thumbs up. I looked back at that -m. I checked my extensions again. I checked the settings for GitHub Copilot even though I turned it off. I searched my local workspace for M and got nothing. The grey text only appeared when I was about to type a decision. I told myself this was some kind of autocomplete seeding itself on my open windows. Maybe Slack's web app and code were colluding through the clipboard. Maybe my brain was noticing patterns. In Chrome, in a private window because superstition, I typed Slack deactivated DM to see if you could somehow send messages from accounts that shouldn't. I ended up on some admin help pages, then our company directory. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for until I saw her name in an old all-hands doc, MySing. Backend contractor. Left in 2021. Next to her name, someone had put a small dove emoji in the Slack archive thread. I went back to code. I typed "might" into a new comment, and I hated myself for doing it because it was like setting my own hand on a hot stove to see if it stings. Nothing appeared at first. Then the suggestion flickered in, broken at the edges like a bad screen recording. No idles. No ghosts. It's just process. Get the headers right. And again, I could hear my upstairs neighbour dragging a chair across hardwood. Or maybe that was a fan inside my desktop. I pushed a small hotfix after that, something harmless, a larger timeout on one API call. The commit message I typed was increased timeout for /tax engine. The GitHub complained for the first time that night. Pre-commit wrote something to the bottom of my message, co-authored by myism@. The ellipsis wasn't an ellipsis, it was the domain from a company she hadn't worked for in almost 4 years. We didn't even use that domain anymore. I opened git/hooks to check if someone had slipped something into our repository. The hooks directory was empty except for the default samples. ASCII was disabled. I went to GitHub. The push commit had me as the author. The trailer line was there. No one else saw it, it was in the web view. Locally, in the reflog, the commit was recorded as happening a minute before I hit enter. I checked the system clock. I checked NTP. Everything was synced. Slack whispered again. Not a ping. The subtle grey text in the input field where you DM yourself notes. Set a reminder, breathe at 1:30. My cursor wasn't in Slack. The suggestion made no sense. But when I opened my own DM with Slack button typed /remind me, the rest of the line appeared on its own, filled out the time, and sent. At 1:30 a.m., Slackbot told me to breathe and attributed the reminder to MySing deactivated. I stared at that parenthetical until my vision shimmered. I took the webcam cover, a small sticker that's been crooked since March, and slid it all the way closed. The green LED didn't blink. The microphone icon in Windows stayed muted. It felt ceremonial more than practical. When the second spike hit the servers at 1:38, I didn't wait for Slack. I typed another comment in VS Code. What now? See who's awake, the editor suggested. They won't be. Push the stale config. They'll thank you in the morning. It wasn't advice anyone should give. It was risky. It was slightly petty. It felt like something you text a coworker you liked when you both knew the right thing was to escalate, but you were both too tired. I pushed the stale config. It worked. It solved 2 outages and caused one minor bug that no one noticed until Monday. I slept for an hour on the floor between my desk and the wall, then drank coffee and told the story to no one. The next night I opened the project and there was no grey text. The files were quiet. Slack kept its distance. Chrome stopped asking me if I wanted to restore tabs. I thought maybe I'd invented it. Sleep deprivation and pattern matching. It's comforting sometimes to think your brain is the unreliable part. Around 3 p.m, a junior dev pinged me in a PR and asked why the header order was different for a single endpoint. I pulled the branch locally. The test failed, then passed. I opened the file. At the top of a function in my style was a comment I didn't write, sorry about the fire alarm. We didn't have a fire alarm. 30 seconds later, a building across the street evacuated in a smooth, fluorescent stream. Sirens filled the air like someone had turned up a slider. I scrolled down. The comment didn't show in the diff on GitHub. In my editor, it did. It was like it existed only where I was looking. Okay, I whispered, because that's what you do when you're alone and you want your voice to sound even. Okay. At 3:17, my screen went dark for a blink. Windows did the thing where it flips to the lock screen and back, like it was checking I was still there. When VS Code returned, a single line in the router file had changed. No cursor, no save animation. It committed itself with my name, a minute in the future, and the line read, keep the ports open. And I checked git blame. It showed my email on a timestamp that hadn't happened yet. I waited through the minute, watching the clock on my taskbar tick toward it. When it arrived, the commit metadata caught up. It solidified under my name like wet cement drying around a handprint. It didn't match mine. I haven't removed the line. I don't know what it opens. Some days I tell myself it was just a race condition in a plugin or a caching bug in our editor tooling. Some nights, VS Code starts to grey text again, timid and certain. It finishes sentences I didn't know I was starting. It says things I've only ever typed into Slack or thought into the space before a decision. It signs them the same way, with a small dash in the lowercase letter that looks a lot like a mouth held closed. It's quiet if I don't ask, except sometimes when I'm about to push. Then it leaves 1 or 2 words where only I can see them. Please and sorry and the shape of my own name spelled wrong on purpose, like a private joke.